Hey guys, we return to the quirky world of Stars Hollow. So the latest Gilmore Girls episode we're going to be reviewing is season 2, episode 6. It's called Presenting Lorelai Gilmore. So the main plot of this episode is then it's a rites of passage for Rory because it's her first formal ball. So it's something which has become a tradition with like the family, and we get like the build up to it, and it's something which the mother Lorelai never did. Like she shied away from this sort of thing. So Rory preparing for this but first big high society event kind of brings up some skeletons as well. There's also a feud between the parents, between Richard and Emily, which we find out late in the episode what that is all about, but at first we're not sure. They're sort of bickering throughout the episode.
Yeah.
There's a very funny opening actually at Friday night dinner where like they're arguing on the stairs, and they've just been arguing for ages, and the girls have shown up and they're just Lorelai's watching on with glee. She's like, yeah, can we get some popcorn? And but it's really funny because it just goes on for ages without them realising then they've got company. High society event, which Rory gets roped into when she goes over to like drop off a book or pick up.
Yeah, she's borrowing a book from Richard. She gets called out onto the patio.
Yeah,
to
you've
see
got
Emily's
Emily
friends.
and her friends gossiping sort of thing. So that's the setup for the episode. What did you think of this one?
I love this episode. This episode has always been one of my favorites. First of all, I love watching a cotillion. We don't really do that here in Australia. It's not really a thing, coming out balls. I mean, I know some all-girls schools do them. Mine didn't, thankfully. But I think it's fun to see them all dressed in the white dresses. And I've seen it in other TV shows too. The OC does a cotillion. Gossip Girl does a cotillion. So yeah, it seems to be a thing. This episode also sees Christopher return, Rory's dad. Because one of the things that they need is the father escorts them around the ballroom. Now, I am going to confess a very, very unpopular opinion where all the girls fans that watch are going to come to me with their torches and pitchforks, but my ultimate ship for Lorelai is Christopher. I love Lorelai and Christopher, and this episode is one of the episodes that just for me really emphasizes how good they can be together and how in tune with each other they are and how similar they are. Like sometimes I really feel like Lorelai and Chris are like two halves of the same whole. Like they're just so in tune. Like the fact that they both have the exact same reaction to Rory saying she's coming out. Like Rory comes home and she's like, I'm coming out. Out of what? No, out into society. And then when she calls Chris, she's like, Rory's coming out. Coming out of what? No, out into society. So I really like that. I love watching the banter between them. I love the dance that they have. That one is fantastic. And I love Chris as the character. We'll talk about this possibly more as we discuss the series more. But I think he's a very inconsistently written character. They basically use him for whatever the plot calls for. And so because of this, his presence in Rory's life is very inconsistently written. And we get a lot of mixed messages about him. But I think this is one of the few episodes where, you really get to see how well he works when things are good and when he's with Lorelai and Rory, and he and Lorelai together, just like, I love them so much. I also think it's really fun, like all the different things that they have to get together for the cotillion. Like I love Lorelai on the phone with her mother, and she's like, no, Mum, in what universe would I have bought Rory 10 pairs of pantyhose? It's like, okay, in what universe in your world, or, when Dean is being told that he has to wear a tux and they're showing him like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they're like, doesn't Neil Young look cool wearing a tux? And Dean's like, yeah, he looks cool because he's Neil Young, not because he's wearing a tux. Richard and Emily stuff is very interesting too, because, we see that Richard is very put out at the moment. He's very angry. He's very upset. And then at the end of the episode, you find out that he's having trouble at work, which then leads into a whole storyline over this season, the next season, and the season after. So this is definitely setting up something that they will then build upon. It does, however, bring out a side of Richard that you unfortunately do see over the series. And this is one of the reasons that my love for Richard has diminished a little bit, in that he's very quick to take things out on Emily. And we see him do this again. Like if something's going wrong in his world, everyone kind of has to suffer for it. And I do find it hard sometimes to watch Emily have to suffer through Richard's tantrums, so to speak. because you can see that it really hurts her at times. So yeah, I just think this is a really fantastic episode. It's got some really fun bits. I love Miss Patty trying to teach Rory and Dean how to dance, and Rory's like, at one point Miss Patty thought Dean was going to get hurt. She made me sit in the corner and watch, and I'm like, that's fantastic. And of course we get the Dirty Dancing, nobody puts baby in a corner reference, which is always fun. And then the cotillion itself is just so ridiculous and so over the top. And I love when Lorelai's like yelling at her parents, and she's like, there are girls in ugly dresses dancing around with fans for God knows what reason, and you two are ruining it. And I'm like, that just basically sums up the world of cotillion. So, I really love this episode. What about you? How did you go rewatching?
Okay, well, I thought we were agreeing too much because I have the opposite opinion, and I mean, not too extreme, because I think we've said this about Gilmore Girls. Pretty much every episode is watchable, even if it is a. But to me, this is a lesser episode, and I think you highlighted some of the reasons. Like, I'm not a Christopher fan, so him playing such a big role for this, like, to me, I think the guy's a yuppie, and I think it would be one thing if he fessed up to being a yuppie, but he tries to pretend that he's on the level and isn't a yuppie, so that bothers me. And besides that, I just feel he's got no personality, and I think the actor's pretty bad. So, I mean, not terrible. I'm not talking outrageous, but like I think he is a weaker actor on the show, and I just don't think the character doesn't really have that much of a personality. So I think he's quite boring. There's obviously some nice scenes with him and Rory, which is fine, and it makes sense him being there for this. Like, I definitely don't ship him and Lorelai, so we disagree on that one. But this just doesn't feel like a standout episode to me. Like, overall, like the stuff at the formal, I don't know. I guess there's just better episodes that do a similar thing, and they do it better. And maybe I'm just not as into like high society type events as you. Like, so that stuff I didn't really find that interesting. You get a bit more of Dean in this episode because he wasn't in the last one, and as you know, I'm not a Dean fan. I thought he was pretty wooden and whingy, like he tends to be in this one. I think the two best things in the episode, probably that Neil Young scene, because I
do like that one.
That's very good. And I think probably the Emily and Richard stuff, because that was like a good issue for them to bring up, this idea of Richard being concerned about, because it's almost that thing you face of when you do get older. This thing.
Yes, he's being phased out of work. He's worried about becoming redundant and being shuttled off in the company.
Yeah, and this sense, especially if you work in quite a corporate environment, then maybe in some ways, like the higher up sort of see it as a bit, well, is this guy really moving with the times? Is he relevant to what we need for the future? And sometimes it's just as cynical as like, here comes a younger, more fresh model, and we can probably train this guy in the mold than we want to be, whereas the older guy might be more stuck in his ways. So I think that is like an interesting thing for them to explore with Richard. And I quite like also then we have these arguments with them, and for a while you don't know what the arguments are over. And so it's quite a nice reveal, and it did get a laugh out of me because of the stuff where he's like, to hell with high society. And
yes, I mean you. Yes.
That was really good. So there's definitely moments in it, because I think every episode has moments, even if it's a weaker episode.
Gilmore Girls is very watchable. We've talked about that before. It's just really easy to just kind of pop on and just enjoy an episode, even if it's not up to the standards that you're used to.
Yeah, so the high society stuff at the ball, I didn't really get into that
Okay.
stuff much. Christopher, I don't like. Dean, I don't like. So in
My
a way,
boys.
this episode wasn't really singing to me. Because Lane, you get a little bit because she's in the Neil Young scene.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. You don't
Yeah,
really
you,
see her for
you
much
don't get
else.
much of her.
I
Yeah.
will mention though, this I can't believe I forgot to mention, but this episode has again one of my favorite sight gags in the series, and it's to do with Luke and Jess. So there's a bit of build up at the beginning of the episode. Jess comes down to work in Medina in a Metallica t-shirt, and Luke's like, "Take that off. That is
Yes.
not proper work attire." So at the end of the episode, and I absolutely love this, Rory and Lorelai are at the diner, and they just kind of look up, and Lorelai's like, "Luke, look," and the camera turns around. It's Jess wearing a flannelette shirt and a backwards baseball
Yeah,
cap,
that's
and it's
excellent.
just
Yeah,
so good.
that's brilliant.
And I love when Luke goes up. He's like, "What is this?" He's like, "I'm sorry, I thought this was a uniform." And then he's like, "All right, fine. You just do what you do. You are invisible. You do not exist to me." And then Jess is like very like precisely moving like the salt and pepper shakers around, and Luke's just like, "All right, that's it. Get upstairs and change." And I just think the whole sequence is just so good. And
It's
again, just a really fun sight gag.
Yeah, it's great because it's that classic thing of be careful what you wish for and
Yes.
just going to from one extreme to the other. And it's such a teenage thing to do. It's like you're gonna pick something which is just gonna wind the adult up so much. So and it's good.
Yeah.
I like
It's so good.
Lorelai and Rory like having a chuckle from the sidelines, and because I like their stuff earlier with the Metallica shirt. It's like, yeah, horrible shirt, great band sort of thing.
Great
Yeah.
band though. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And there's also a really
Nice.
lovely scene at the end of this episode with Lorelai and her mother. And they
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
often have that many, sweet scenes, especially this early in the series before the relationship, where Lorelai sees, Emily needs someone to talk to, and she goes over and she just very casually, she's like, I've just come over to hang, and Emily's like, okay, and then Lorelai basically says, Mum, if you ever want to talk to someone, I am here, and I am a real sucker for like any kind of soft moment between Lorelai and her parents because they have such a fractured relationship. So I really do like whenever they have those sweeter moments. And so I thought that was a really sweet way to end the episode.
yeah. That pretty much nailed the what they were going for at the end of the episode because like they didn't really say much. It's just I'm there for you sort of moment if you ever want to talk. And because once again I think it's a bit getting into that little bit of an old-fashioned thing where in some ways Richard and Emily are a bit of a traditional couple where he's the one who goes out and makes the money for the family. Not that they need money, but like he is the one who traditionally goes to work and she's the one who stays at home sort of thing. So it's dipping a bit into that where Lorelai can be a sounding board for Emily maybe and can maybe offer a bit of a different perspective. I think there's that much to the episode really overall this time.
No.
So, okay.
Just a fun little piece. So differing opinions on this one, but that's bound to happen. But oh my God, we're going to have to talk about the slander against my boys Dean and Chris. Oh dear.
Yeah.
I'm a big defender of both.
Yeah, I know you are. And it's funny that Jess went straight into the credits. And so we've got Jess and Dean in the same credits. So this town ain't big enough for the both of them, I guess. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we will.
So that is Gilmore Girls, another episode 6 of season 2, presenting Lorelai Gilmore. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Who do you agree with? Like, do you like this episode like Rachel, or are you not so keen on it like me? And where do you stand on Dean and with Christopher? Let us know what you think of that stuff. Like and subscribe as always. Share us out. You can support me for $1 a month on patreon.com/boardnow to get some extras for that. Rachel, if you want to plug your channel.
guys, you can follow me and all of my correct opinions at Rachel McDonald. Lots of video essays on movies and TV shows, and I will have some Gilmore content on there soon if I don't already. Tumblr and Twitter are also linked on my YouTube, and Keith usually puts a link in the description, so come and follow me everywhere.
Okay, thanks guys. Keep watching TV and Gilmore Girls. We'll be back with more soon. See you later.